Hi, today we're going to be making a beautiful tri-colored orzo, which is a wonderful side dish that is wonderful because it can be made during the summer or during the winter. We're going to start with an orzo, which actually, you can see a little bit over here that orzo has the shape of rice. People actually mistake it for barley or a different kind of grain. Orzo in Italian means barley because of its small size and small shape, but it's no bigger than a pine nut and makes a wonderful side dish for any sort of meal. The orzo we're using is infused with spinach and sun-dried tomato. The vegetables we're going to use for our tri-colored orzo all complement the colors of the pasta. We have the green zucchini, which complements our spinach pasta. We have the yellow zucchini, which complements the regular clear pasta that has no flavor. And we're going to be using beautiful red peppers, nice hue here, to complement our sun-dried tomato pasta. So while we're waiting for our water to boil, we're going to prepare some more of our vegetables. Now when you're picking out red peppers, there are many different kinds of red peppers. You have red hot chili peppers, you have the red Holland peppers, and then you have a less expensive version of red peppers that you can use in the store. They come out a little bit longer. They're not as beautiful if you're using it for a salad, but since we're using it for cooking purposes, you might want to choose that as the peppers you're going to use. Now, peppers have a lot of seeds inside, and sometimes when you're cooking, there's not as much time to start cleaning things out. So you try to, using your knife, slice through the pepper, not too close to the beginning or to the end, to avoid the seeds inside. And if you have to actually clean out the seeds, that's not such a big deal. The knife that I'm using here is a Santuco knife, which is wonderful, especially for cooking and slicing vegetables because it has an easy grip on it. I have in this pepper here a little bit of white pith inside that I don't want to go into my vegetables, so I'm going to clean that off over here. And let me get the rest of this red pepper in because this one red pepper is pretty large, and to save time, we don't need to use necessarily the entire pepper. It's also good to use the end of the pepper because you have usually a spot that doesn't have as many seeds inside of it. Once you have this pepper, you can slice it in any different shape you like. When we used our zucchini, we did half rounds. Zucchinis come in different shapes and different sizes. Depending on the size, you don't want it to be too small because while we saute the vegetables, the size will affect how cooked it is. We want to have vegetables, zucchinis cook very quickly, and peppers take a little bit longer. So the peppers can go in a smaller size, length, and the zucchini can be a little bit bigger. I like mixing up shapes. So since we have half rounds of zucchinis, sometimes quarter rounds, which is more circular, I like the pepper to be cut up into matchstick size. So we'll start with some slicing. And chop up into little rectangles for our red pepper. Notice if there are any blemishes, any pieces you can just put to the side. And what's also nice about cooking with peppers is that when you're cutting them, the inside, sometimes if you want it to look nice, is sometimes easier to cut depending on the shape of it. If it's a little bit rounded at the edge, then you might want to start on the outer edge to break right into the flesh. And everything has to be uniform when you're cutting vegetables because then some of the pieces will be a little bit more on the soft side and then some will be on the crunchier side, and that just adds to the variety of your actual dish. Okay. We've been boiling up some water for our pasta, and while we're waiting a few more minutes for that to boil because we want it to be at a full boil before we put our pasta in. In the meantime, I'm going to start by putting a little bit of olive oil into my pot over here. It sizzles right away. I like using olive oil. Olive oil is a very healthy oil to cook with, and it heats up very quickly here. And I'm going to be throwing in the vegetables that take the longest to cook. In this case, we're going to start with our chopped onions. You hear that sizzling right away. I think I'm going to lower the flame on this because we don't want anything to burn, and that would be a bad thing. You want to saute the onions so that they're translucent. We don't want to get them too brown like you would for certain recipes. And I'm going to also put in the red pepper because the red pepper takes a long time to cook. Start with the red pepper. Peppers are moving around. They are dancing in the pot. Look at that color. Beautiful. The contrast that you can see right now is pretty obvious in our pot. And I'm going to throw in some spices right now while there's still a little bit of oil to help dilute it. I'm going to put in, I would say, a teaspoon salt and just a pinch of crushed red pepper. Depending on your style or your taste, the crushed red pepper is very intense. So you want to try your recipe the first time by putting a little bit less of it in. And subsequently, you can always add some more if you like it a little spicier. I'm going to throw in my zucchinis now. About a cup's worth. Again, this is all to taste. Adding too many vegetables has never hurt anyone. And you can always modify the recipe each time you make it. The zucchinis are very water-based vegetable. So as you're cooking with the zucchinis, you want them to saute. The way that you're going to get them to get nice and soft is by covering your pot. Everything looks beautiful here. Okay, I like to mix it up a little bit, and we're going to let that saute a little bit by covering. Cover this up. And lower the flame a little bit. And it takes about 10 minutes of sauteing. You can check that every few minutes to make sure that it's cooked well. Okay, so let's check our water now. Oh, it's at a beautiful rolling boil right here. To make pasta have a nice flavor, we add the actual salt to the water, and that'll infuse it as the orzo is cooking inside of it. It's beautiful here. Let's pour this orzo inside. People have this misnomer to add some oil to your pasta, but that just takes all the important, rich starch that is important for pasta. First of all, it adds to the carbohydrate aspect for the energy, and when you're making something like an orzo to go with the pasta, you don't want everything to be all slick and slimy around it, so we mix up our pasta, and of course we cook it uncovered, and we're going to wait for that to cook. In the meantime, let's check to see how our zucchinis and vegetable mix is going. We're going to raise the temperature here a little bit and mix that around again. Vegetables are doing really nicely. You see here at the bottom of the pot, you see a lot of liquid because, like I said, zucchini is a very water-based vegetable, but that's okay because that liquid, once it's mixed with the pasta, is going to bring all the flavors together, and when you decide if you have leftovers ever of this recipe, the liquid inside is going to keep it from getting too hard because the pasta, when it doesn't have enough liquid nearby, will get too hard. Okay, another great thing you can throw into this, if you have in the house, you can throw in some mushrooms, some sliced mushrooms, add some nice flavor. Some people would like to add some sun-dried tomatoes themselves, which would also complement the sun-dried tomatoes in our pasta. This has been cooking for a bit. See, some of the zucchini are still hard, and I have no problem letting this saute a few minutes longer. Okay, so we're going to watch our pasta. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the size of your pot, depending on the temperature. But you don't want your pasta to stick to each other, especially orzo. There's so many little pieces of it. So we're going to stir it every few minutes just to make sure that it remembers that it's there. And we're going to wait about 8 minutes. Constantly, the water should constantly be on a rolling boil. So while sometimes cooks at home tend to lower their pasta water temperature, you want to keep it on a steady, even temperature. And it's looking really beautiful. You can see all those little orzo popping up there. And we're going to wait for our vegetables to finish up. I think they're almost done. You don't want to overcook them because they might get a little mushy. Okay, so it looks like our orzo is ready. You want it to be a little bit al dente, which means firm to the teeth. And we're going to drain it. I'm going to bring over this pot. Be very careful. This is a wonderful pot. It has a silicone handle. And I'm going to pour it into this colander right here. Contrary to popular belief, you don't want to rinse your orzo or your pasta. It'll take away all that nice starch I was telling you about before. and give it a good shake, simply because with orzo, it's so small that your colander can be dense with the pasta. Scoop it around, move it around a little bit, put that over here. And now we're going to mix our orzo with our vegetables. There really isn't much of a difference whether you mix it, which goes first. In this case, I think I'm going to put my vegetables in first because there is some liquid, and that'll enable me to control the amount of liquid goes into my bowl. Notice how the vegetables that began as clear white now have a little bit of a translucent tone to them. Okay, cut them all in. Beautiful. This nice summer color going on here. And now I'm going to take my orzo pasta and mix that in. I would start by doing about half or 2/3 of the pasta mixture and then mixing. You can always add more orzo later, but especially because of the size of the pasta, it'd be very hard to take out some of it if you decide that you want a nicer ratio of vegetables. I think this is actually a perfect ratio going on here. You see a lot of the vegetables, you have the orzo inside to kind of bind the dish. And I'm going to add, just for some more flavor, a few turns of freshly ground black pepper. You don't want to be too generous with black pepper because it seems small, but for some reason it's able to spread itself all through the vegetable dish. We have all the vegetables and the orzo mixed up here. Very nice. I'm going to present this dish. What I like about this dish, and the dish you should serve this on, is there is an edge because there is some liquid still inside your orzo. Remember that you don't want the liquid to go to the side. I'm going to scoop that out. The bottom layer isn't so necessary to be careful. I like to keep as much of the vegetables layered on top. Keep it within the frame of the serving platter. And get some of the red. See how beautiful it is? You have the subtle hints of the red in the pasta that match the red in the red pepper. You have the plain pasta mixed with that onion and that yellow zucchini. And of course you have the spinach pasta, which kind of, as it cooked, got a little bit lighter, but we still see it's a beautiful sage tone with the jewel tone of the vegetables. And there you go. You have a beautiful side dish. What's going to be really great about this is the next day, if you ever have leftovers, you can serve this warm one day and then serve it cold as a salad, as a pasta salad, or you can reheat it and all that liquid will bring itself out again and it tastes wonderful as a leftover.